What's up, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Gatekeeper Media's In the Mix with Parked podcast. This is the start of it all. This is the first episode. Just a little bit about what we're going to be doing here on this podcast is we're going to be recapping Disc Golf Pro Tour events, the majors, and even more tournaments. And we have plans to create even more produced show along the way, but you're here first. My name is Mitch Phillips. Joining me is my good friend Hayden Ricard. How are you doing, man?
Doing good. Excited for this new season, this new opportunity that we're taking with Gatekeeper. Can't wait. And this is the start of it. It's going to be the kickoff to our season, the 2022 season.
Hayden, how was your off season, dude?
It was busy, and so was yours. I mean, we were connecting every week, doing something that we've never done before, and that was a deep dive into the European disc golf.
Dude, we had the opportunity with the partnership with Natural Born Disc Golfer here at Gatekeeper Media. We were able to do commentary, Hayden and I, on all four, not all of them, 4 out of 5 stops of the Prodigy Disc Pro Tour.
Felt like all of them.
Yeah, it was a ton. But we got to talk about, and see the FPO side and the MPO side. We did the math, quick maths for you. We commentated on nearly 450 holes of disc golf, 12 rounds of men.
48 videos.
Yeah, 12 rounds of men, 12 rounds of women's. But really got, like you said, an inside look into European disc golf scene in Finland and names you've never heard of, names you've heard of for a long time. Talk a little about the MPO side and some of the highlights we got to see.
I mean, 2 top women, and they're here. They are here.
Yeah, we'll get into everyone
Evelina
that's coming.
Salin and Hannah Bloomrose. And those two are fantastic to watch, and I cannot wait to see more out of them from these tournaments that are going on in the United States. And, I mean, they put on a show in Finland. I'm ready for a show here.
Yep. And on the MPO side, 2 players we really got to watch that are definitely going to head here soon is, oh, man, this one I'm so excited to come over, is Niklas Antila, sponsored by Discmania. Young kid, really strong player. He won Kuopio. He's from Kuopio, Finland. Took that down. Just the consistency of his play was incredible. Another player sponsored by Latitude 64 is Lauri Leitinen, Leitinen is an incredible, again, young player, just coming out hot. I believe both of them are going to be coming in Waco, and we'll be here for most of the season. Evelina and Hannah, we're here for Vegas, so we'll talk a little about that. But that transitions us into, where's the Disc Golf Pro Tour at this week, Hayden?
This week we were at LVC Las Vegas Challenge in Nevada at Wild Horse Golf Club, and first DGPT of the year. Got 3 courses over 4 rounds. Some new changes, but also some of the same stuff.
Right.
I mean, you had infinite course, shortest of 3. So there was a good bit of, hot rounds there were huge.
Yeah, and before we get into each course, we got to talk about the weather, dude.
Oh,
the wind.
Completely.
I got there on Tuesday.
I thought you were going to have sunshine skies, clear skies, and then you look at the weather a couple days before, and it's like, what is this?
Right. You think about Vegas, and you're like, oh, this is going to be this beautiful place. It's the desert. It's going to be warm. No, it was windy and like 40 degrees. I mean, what was it, last year or 2020? I believe it snowed the day before the tournament. The FBO cards going out literally had snow on the ground where there was sand. Like, it was crazy.
I mean, it's there. It's in a valley between the mountains, so it can happen. But most of the time, you're not thinking, "Oh, okay, snow, cold weather, jackets." No, but that was crazy.
Yeah, I think the unexpected was the wind, but also you come here and you do expect it, like in a lot of ways. The pre-tournament, the rounds, the practicing, everything was absurd. We're talking up to 50-mile-per-hour gusts. I got there on Tuesday, mid-Tuesday. I was waiting for my Uber to pick me up at the airport, and we're in this like tunnel, and the wind is ripping through the tunnel, and like my hair's going crazy. My hat flew off my head. It was ridiculous.
You sent me some Snapchats out of it and videos, and I was like, okay, all right. It's going to be an interesting 4 rounds this week. Cool.
Yeah. Thankfully, by the time the tournament did start, it did calm down, but doing some player interviews along the way and pre-rounds were hilarious because my hood's hitting people in the face. I mean, it was bad. I would rather have that than pouring rain. But anyway, we'll get into that more and how that affected some of the rounds. But like you said, Infinite was the first course, shortest of the 3. There were some changes across the board. Like you said, most of them were to pin placements and some tee pads, some holes that were really easy last year.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. Is just make it a little harder for both fields, and maybe a little bit more technical. Layup shots are going to have to play a little bit different, but definitely a little bit different. Slight changes, not much.
Yeah. So Infinite being the shortest of the three, played that in round one. Moving into course Innova, which is the most technical, but it also is the second longest. And technical not being because it's like these tiny little shots, but because the out of bounds is really, really important. I mean, on all of these, you're on a golf course. The out of bounds is everywhere. The hazards, the out of bounds. But Innova specifically, it's a pretty big combination. It's one we played. We're going to play in round 2 and round 4. So you get to make some corrections. But a lot of players not a big fan of this next course, and that is the Innova Factory course, which is the longest. We're talking like nearly 2,000 feet longer than Infinite.
It is a long course, and it gets tiring walking that whole way. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you see changes as we continue, into the disc golf changing, but I expect them to change it up, especially with how many people do not like this course.
Yeah, I mean, there's been talk over the past couple of years, and maybe it'll happen next year. Who knows? About doing 2 tournaments because it's the first tournament of the year for a lot of players. Yeah, it's the first stop. A lot of people skip it. Paul Macbeth wasn't here. I mean, there's some big names that didn't attend it, solely because of
it's a 4-round.
It's 4-round, but it's 3 courses, so it's so much prep coming in.
It's rough.
It's kind of
people are getting there.
Yeah,
the week before and practicing.
Right. It's weird. So I think there's been talk about it combining the Infinite course and Factory course. We'll see what happens. I think it'd be sweet because you could take the best of Infinite, the best of Factory, and you can make it's an incredible course and very, very technical one. And the way the property sets up, those courses are next to each other. You wouldn't affect Innova at all. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see that in the future. But another big topic, like we already said, is the Europeans have arrived. Hayden, run me through some details, maybe some highlights of who these people are. People know who most of these guys are. But really quick, before we jump into the recap part of this, talk to me about the European men that are here for Vegas specifically.
So MPO, we had Sepopayo. He's been to the U.S. in his early 20s. Everybody pretty much knows this guy. Prodigy Europe Tour running. I mean, this kid has been over here a while. He
was a kid when he came here. He's not a kid anymore.
I think he... Didn't he come over with Simon around the same year?
Yeah, pretty close to it. Was with Prodigy in the early days. His family is actually invested in, and runs the majority of Prodigy Disc Europe. His dad. He works with the marketing side and YouTube and stuff for Prodigy Disc Europe and the Prodigy Disc Pro Tour. So he actually will. This is one of his only events for the year in America because he'll be going back.
He's got huge stuff. He's got a lot over in the European scene that he's doing for them.
Yeah, really changing and shaping the next generation of disc golfers in Finland, pushing that sport in a big way. Another name coming over.
I was going to say, this guy is going to be exciting to watch.
Yep. Linus Carlson. He's a 2-time Swedish champion. He's one of the top 3 rated players in the entire continent of Europe.
And how old is he?
I believe he's 22.
He's crazy.
He's a young dude, and he's going to be 22. He'll be 23 this year. And dude, I mean, he just joined Latitude 64, and this is his first time playing along the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and he's here for the long haul. He's one of the main players that's going to be just going back real quick, resetting the visa, and coming right back here. So
he's also touring with our. I was going to say he's touring with our European analyst over here.
Yep. Good guy over on Parked Podcast, our European analyst, Mr. Max Vergitne, going to be touring with him. Really cool to see just a young player be able to come over from Sweden. I feel like you think of European disc golf and here's the Finns, but there are some incredible players. Another one from another country. Hayden, talk to me about Albert Tom.
I mean, what is there not to say? He's got he's boom arm, basically.
Yep. Bazooka.
Bazooka. He throws so far.
Yep.
Watching him play at USDGC was awesome. Being able to play, and he's 4-time Estonian champion. I think this year you're going to have – I'd like to see a breakout season for him and win some big tournaments.
Yeah, he's been here for a couple of years now, and I think learning those courses and there's that,
it's hard.
It is. It really is. But excited to see some of those players here in Vegas, and there's a good amount more, and we're going to see them continue on throughout this season. The FPO side, the number 1 player in the world, Kristen Tatar, sponsored by Latitude 64, just re-upped a contract with them. Is a huge, hundreds of thousands of dollars contract. she's going to be here for the long haul. Last year, she was only here for a little bit of time.
I don't think she's going anywhere.
No, she's going to be staying here in America as long as she can. It's just the FBO field. We'll talk about it when we get to them later in the recap, but it's better than ever. I mean, the top players in the world moving into the I believe number 3 in the world here is Evelina Salin.
Yeah. Is there much? If you haven't watched her or Henna play, please go to YouTube on Gatekeeper and watch all the Prodigy Pro. Just that alone will show you how good they are.
The consistency. We're talking there were some tournaments where Evelina and Henna were 2 strokes apart, and then third place was like 15 strokes.
She won. I mean,
she won 4 of the 5 of the Prodigy Pro Tour.
Absolutely killed it.
Heck yeah. Another player here, Henna Bloomrose. We've already talked a little bit about her. And before we get into Henna, when in 2020, Henna and Evelina were here at the Las Vegas Challenge, Henna got 3rd, Evelina got 2nd. So they're coming in with full confidence onto these courses. But Henna Bloomrose, another one, extremely technical, phenomenal hyzer flip game, known for her distance, and just an up-and-coming player in Europe that is, it's top 5 in the world. Player that you probably haven't heard of, but will hear of this year for sure, is Luca Laurenson. She's a 2-time Norway champion. Just after 2 years of joining the PDGA,
wow.
She won the Norwegian championships back to back. A player that is,
talk about commitment.
Coming in hot. Seriously. Excited to see her in America and on the Disc Golf Pro Tour as well. But yeah, that wraps it up for kind of some of the Europeans that are going to be heading over here. We'll see. I'm hoping we're going to see a couple of wins out of the Europeans on the men's and the women's side. I'm sure we will with the level of play.
I have no doubt in my mind that we will see it because of the level that they play at.
Yeah. Well, let's get into a segment here we're calling the Running It Back with Ideo Sports. If you've never heard of Ideo Sports before, they're the creators of the first ever disc golf shoe. This is a segment where each week we're going to be talking about a statistic or a highlight from previous years at this tournament or something that happened this week. Let's jump into the past 3 years. We're running it back to the past 3 years of the Las Vegas Challenge. The winner of the LVC has been on the round 1 Gatekeeper feature card. Who are those 3 people in the past 3 years, Hayden?
That'll be Nate Sexton, Calvin Heimberg, and Eagle McMahon. That is...
I'm not saying
that's a crazy stat, but, yeah. It's a stat itself. That's pretty impressive. If, you're on Gatekeeper round 1, hey, I may have a shot now. I don't think they're going to think like that, but it could be an outstanding stat that can continue on.
Yeah, it's really funny to think like that and realize the funny statistics. And we'll be getting a lot of our statistics here with Statmando, which will be awesome to hear from them.
Yes.
Another thing we want to run it back to here at LVC is Zachariah Johnson's ace. Hole 18, infinite, round 1, goes over the top to the island green with a forehand with his own tour Firebird and aces it.
It had to be epic. I wish it was on camera.
Yeah, from what we can find, we haven't been able to see it on camera, but oh my gosh. Phenomenal.
To ace in a tournament like that.
In the first tournament of the year. Like you talk about confidence, saying, man, I feel good about this.
I know this hole. I'm just gonna put it in. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
It's
there
crazy.
You go. So shout out to Zachariah Johnson. But be sure to head over to idiosports.com to get your pair of disc golf history. Let's jump into the MPO, our returning champion.
Yes.
Eagle McMahon. Some different things in the the off season had to drop out of Disc Golf Pro Tour with a shoulder injury. He was seen and actually did throw lefty at the All Stars, which is absolutely insane. But if there's anyone who's going to do
on camera in the pre-interviews that he was going to try it every now and then, but he's limited. Hold on. He's limited to like 350 as a lefty.
Only 350 as a lefty.
Only 350.
Only.
I rolled my eyes. What?
Yeah, okay. To do that with the opposite hand is crazy. But here, in Vegas, you don't really need too much of a forehand.
No.
With the backhand skill that he has and the roller distance he has, he's able to throw that pretty much full power. But he won't be coming to Waco. He's going to take a break for the month of March and be able to just rest, make sure everything's okay.
Recover.
Yeah. So it's a good call for him, but definitely sad to be able to know that he won't be here for a little bit. But again, returning champion. Let's get into round 1. Some highlights. Give me the hot round from round 1.
Hot round for the Infinite Course MPO was Chris Dickerson at 11 under.
And conditions on round 1
were not fun.
No, I think they were definitely better than expected.
True.
But they definitely were, gusty and everything, but anything compared to the pre-round, compared to practice days.
Oh my God, yeah.
And you're saying not fun because it was, hey, I did all my practice rounds and there was an insane amount of wind. I changed out discs in my bag, and now what what do you do? So I was expecting
go to the car.
Right. True. I was expecting hotter rounds. Maybe some in that 12, 13, 14 range. But everybody's shaking off the rust a little bit. Chris Dickerson shot the hot round of -11. Eagle Mcmahon, your returning champion, was able to jump onto the lead card, and also a name we're about to talk about a lot. Gannon Burr shot 10 under as well.
Yes, he did.
Dude, Gannon Burr.
In the All-Stars, he was putting like nobody's business.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting to see when he takes it to LVC. Well, just started out with fire and continued it for the whole entire tournament.
And let it be known, you've heard this a ton of times, but 16 years old. His mom is his caddy. I mean, the commitment, the absolute drive of Hayden. What were you doing when you were 16?
I wasn't playing disc golf yet.
Mm-mm.
I was playing disc golf the next year, but I was working, but I wasn't playing disc golf like committed, and I was just playing soccer.
Yeah, playing soccer. What were your hobbies back then when you were 16?
Video games, soccer, and hunting and fishing.
Yeah, mine was riding the bench on the JV soccer team and playing World of Warcraft, and I was in choir. I was not, lead card of the Disc Golf Pro Tour event.
No.
Talk about the next generation is coming. They're, the next generation of disc golfers, they're here, and his name is Gannon Burr.
It didn't take this tournament to see that. I mean, it took all last year. You could see it as it was progressing through this season now. They're here, and they're here to take over. Yeah, so he was on the lead card headed into round 2. Infinite Course, it's one of the 2 courses here that we don't get to play more than once. So you're kind of one and done. Shaking off the rust, like I said, not as hot a round as we kind of expected. But it's definitely it's kind of nice to be able to play one course and move on. You're able to know that you're one and done and be able to continue it. I feel like if you get a solid score on the Infinite Course, put in a decent round, you're able to attack at the next course because you're going to get a redo on round 4. It's true. So let's move into round 2 at the end of a course. We had round 2 MPO. Hot round was Drew Gibson at 13 under. Yeah. That is huge. That's a move. That is absolutely huge. And doing 13 under, I mean, second, and it was Noah Metzema, a name we've seen a lot. Had a big win last year in Minnesota, and name that we have talked about a lot as well, Calvin Heimberg, also at -10. A lot of -10s here, but a name we just mentioned, somebody coming in, is Linus Carlson, making the move, moving up 15 spots in round 2, shot 10 under par, just 1 bogey. He eagled hole 7, the dreadful double island in green. It's dreadful. It's terrifying. It is pretty. The landing zone of that is ridiculous, but awesome to be able to see a Swede jump up onto the lead card. Yes, it was. But yeah, like you said, talk a little about the first round at Innova and some highlights from it for the MPO. Yeah, I mean, you go to it. The next person with the hot round was Noah Metzema. Yeah, and he was at 11 under, and he was tied for 17th. When he finished, that was impressive. Yeah, he had a tough first round, but being able to jump 55 spots. Yeah, that shooting 11 stat that was huge. To move that much, you got to be proud of yourself. Oh, no doubt. Super proud. Yeah, able to shake that rust off for real and move on. But another story from round 2 really was the fact that there was a shakeup. That went from the shorter course to this technical course. Some of the players that shot hot in round 1, not so great in round 2. They weren't. Yeah, they struggled a little bit, I would say. I mean, you didn't have. I mean, you had big names up there that everybody really kind of knows,
Right.
but you didn't have the ones that you kind of maybe expected to be there. They were struggling, having some issues. Round 2 gave some struggles. What was the weather like out there round 2?
So yeah, I was on site being able to work with Gatekeeper all week. The weather on round 2 was different. It was a lot colder, and it definitely affected some of the players. But it was a new course. I mean, it wasn't, the wind wasn't as bad, but it was just the difference in the courses are so huge. So it was exciting to see the way that they attacked it, and knowing that they can make corrections. The players are able to come back to this one in round 4. But let's jump into round 3 at the Innova factory course.
Yeah, and a round 3 factory course had hot round Tristan Tanner and Scott Withers shooting an 11 down.
And Tristan Tanner was on the Gatekeeper card.
Yes,
I got
he
to walk
was
with him the entire time and then do commentary post. His putt was on fire.
Yeah, he was hitting outside circle 2, outside circle 1 putts, and it was dead center.
Yeah, there was so much confidence in that, and he was injured a lot last year. So
Yes,
being
he
able
was.
to have a player like him be able to come in and just shoot incredible. But like you said, Scott Withers, player that is absolutely ran the scene up in Oregon, really pushing the sport in the Northwest region of the United States. Works with Resistance Disc Golf with Jeff Corns, and just does so many tournaments. He has a 45% win ratio in PDGA events. Like 120 something wins out of like 270 tournaments.
How many others do you think have something similar to that?
Somebody who's played 6 tournaments and really good. I mean, the consistency of him knowing how to win. He was one of a couple players that went 6 through 6. Ricky Wysocki, another one of those names, really getting it going in round 2.
And Ricky, I mean, make it a little bit of a push back up into the leaderboard area.
Yeah.
In round 3.
In round 3, I mean, the longest course of the 3, truly a bomber course. I mean, we're talking 1,000-foot par 5s. That, like, everyone has a chance at eagle. I mean, there was some sky rollers happening. Kevin Jones threw a roller off the tee, super far right, then decided to go sky roller over the top again.
Yep.
And then be pin high and just lay up for a birdie. I mean, a course like Vegas, at all 3 of these courses, just bring out the most ridiculous shots.
They always have, though.
Yeah.
It always has brought out different shots, different crazy lines. I mean, you have trees, but you don't have like a bunch of trees.
Yeah.
Like you can go over the top. I mean, you're in the desert, you're able to go over the top. You're able to make these big shots. So it's nice to see, but also at the same point, I think maybe it's getting a little too easy for them.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to like the Memorial when it was like, hey, you got to shoot 17 down every round to take it. I don't think it's at that point because it is a little more technical. And the changes that they made were so solid. They said, hey, you used to be able to have the easiest hole in the course. At Infinite was hole 3. Let's take that tee pad back, move it 60 feet,
and move the basket.
Yeah, move the baskets. I mean, the changes they made, some of them kind of felt like a little bit random, but overall, I think it did make the course play a little bit more difficult. But let's move into this final round, and this was where things really heated up. Minus 13 was a hot round from none other than Drew Gibson. Completely expected when his putter gets going. I mean, there's no stopping him because his drivers are never off. We saw that at the Disc Golf Pro Tour Champions.
Mid-ranges.
Yeah.
His everything approaching. I mean, he was approaching with mid-ranges and putters.
Mm-hmm. On almost every par 4.
Yeah.
Even going mid-range.
Yeah. He was playing his golf. He was playing. I love watching him because it's just OG, like watching back in the day, him play, and I'm glad to see him up at the top and being able to push round 4, hot round, but he wasn't alone.
Yeah, he was definitely not
Who
alone.
else was with him?
Try 4 other players shooting 13 down, and a couple of them on the same card.
Yeah, which was impressive.
Names that, some of these guys, they shoot really hot. Everyone that here at the Disc Golf Pro Tour, I think we're at the point now, we've talked about it on our podcast last year, we're at the point now, MPO, FPO, anyone can win. Like, it really does feel like that 16-year-old Gannon Burr, Drew Gibson, who's been on tour for a long time, Paul McBeth. I mean, there's these names, and then people just come out of nowhere.
Whoever decides to show up.
And people that decide to show up, let's run down some of these 13 under pars, Hayden. Calvin Heimberg, minus 13. Luke Humphreys, minus 13. Kevin Jones, minus 13. They were on the same card.
Yes, they were.
Thomas Gilbert, minus 13. And you talk about some streaks. Calvin Heimberg birdied holes 5 through 12.
I mean, if you go to UDisc and just look at the cards,
it's so much blue at the top.
A lot of blue.
And a lot of blue.
Not a lot of orange.
Exactly. A lot of blue is Adam Hammis, who went 9 for 9 in round 4. 9 for 9. But then found bogey on 10, unfortunately, but then bounced back with 2 more.
That's okay. You went for 9 for 9.
Yeah. I mean,
that is a stat.
The streak's got to end somewhere. But
it could end on hole 18.
Yeah. But
seen that happen.
Especially at end of one of the hardest holes in the tournament, I believe. Yeah, statistically it was, I believe, the hardest hole in the tournament. But let's jump into the end here. We've hit some highlights along the way.
The end was, I honestly, I'm glad it came down to this because it gave some opposition and almost like hey, this is like an attention grabber. This is happening. It's not just someone just won.
It's a playoff at the beginning of the year. Of course, it's going to grab some attention.
Yeah,
it's so exciting. And that playoff,
Drew Gibson, versus Gannon Burr 4-hole playoff.
And let's not be wrong. Gannon Burr was in control this entire tournament.
He had it in the bag if he didn't miss a couple holes.
And he eagled during this round.
Yes, he did. I mean,
on hole 7, he shot 10 under, but it was not enough to hold off Drew Gibson minus 13. And we're going to a playoff. And the only way that happened was a lot of different things. But on hole 18, Gannon and Drew threw the longest drives I've ever seen on hole 18, nearly past the second island. It was.
I thought Gannon's was OB.
Off the tee?
Off the tee.
Watching on DGN? Yeah.
Yes.
It was, seeing it in person come in, it was definitely close. I was standing in the mulch on hole 18 and watching those come in, but being able to see an upshot go right past me was Gannon Burr went out of bounds long. That OB is so close.
It is.
It's so close.
I didn't think it was. Did they push it up this year, or is
no?
It
it's been the same, but you never really see a camera angle of the back of that.
True.
But standing there in person, I was able to send you some videos and Snapchat you and whatnot while I was there. I mean, we're talking 10, maybe a little bit less feet, and you're on a raised basket. The nerves are there on hole 18. He pushes just a little bit long, makes the comebacker, and we're going to a playoff. The order of the holes in playoff is holes 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on. And really picking up some of the harder holes, but we just kept going. Talk us through hole 1 of that playoff.
Okay, let alone, let's just say, they were going tit for tat.
Yep.
One was throwing a great shot.
Right.
I could put it closer.
Mm-hmm.
One would do the other. It just going back and forth. And it was like, this is how many, we were just going to repeat and go back to one once we get done?
Yeah, it's getting dark.
What the heck?
The sun's going down around 5:30 here.
I thought it was going so much longer than it did. And then, I mean,
hole 1, they both park it in different ways too, which is really neat to see. And then hole 3, we go to the raised basket with the water there. Shorter hole. Those are the holes that usually in the playoff you see players mess up a little bit because you go from these long ones.
I thought it was going to get Gannon.
He almost went out of bounds long. It was so close.
And then hole 5, he did make a mistake. Mm-hmm. Well, I wouldn't call it a mistake. He hit a branch early.
Yep.
Off the tee, but his upshot was so impressive. Forehand putter or mid-range, I don't remember, and is next to the basket pretty much.
Literally, absolutely parked. And the pressure was, some of those times when you're in the playoff, you hit a tree early, you're forced to, really go for it. You have to. You're in a playoff, it's sudden death. But I think sometimes that puts it in your favor. If you're feeling confident, you get to say, hey, your shot that looks easier than mine is now harder, especially on a green like 5. But Drew Gibson doesn't care. It was absolutely parked.
Drew did not care.
And we're going to hole 7. So we are now on our 4th hole, a hole that we've talked about already. The difficulty is there. You have to kind of scope this out for you if you weren't able to see it on coverage, or if you're not able to see the actual card of what the hole looks like.
It's on YouTube, so you can go check it out.
You can check it out. Check it out on Gatekeeper Media. But hole 7 is a golf green with it's a what's called 2 bunkers on the left and the right. The landing zone to park it. It's a par 4. It's an attackable par 4 that you can park it. We've seen so many eagles
that's happened
during it.
multiple times.
Many. But to lay up is about 330 feet to the green. But there's usually a tailwind, and it's very, very easy to go long. So you see a lot of players go, I'm just going to put it close, throw a hyzer. If I get lucky, I get lucky. If not, I'll be in the sand. Well, what happened, Hayden?
Gannon goes for it and goes in the hazard to about circle's edge, and Drew actually reconsidered what he was going to do and decides to throw a mid-range and lay up.
And throw a mid-range like a normal human, not like a 500-foot mid-range.
Yes, but completely puts the pressure on Gannon.
I mean, puts the pressure on himself, too. That upshot is still not easy.
It's not, but it's a straight shot to that gap in that landing zone that he knew he could get if he placed it right.
Right, so he lays up, puts it so close. All the pressure's on Gannon. And this is a guy, we've talked about him so much because he was truly the highlight of this tournament.
How far was that last putt that he hit Bam?
I mean, it was right around circle's edge. And he talked about in a vignette thing he did with Jomez that he only putts from circle's edge and out. He does not putt any closer, does not practice putt any closer than circle's edge. So
kind of smart.
This is a putt that he throws, and this is his words, 200 if not 300 times a day. He is throwing this distance putt. This is something that is in his nature that is literally like waking up and putting your feet on the floor.
If he's 16 and doing that, the kid's going to go places.
Unfortunately, he's in the sand. The footing is never consistent in the sand, and he puts it high, hits the band, and all Drew Gibson has to do is lay up for the par, and he does it. And Drew Gibson jumping, what was it, Hayden? He was in 50-something place?
He was in 50th place.
After round 1.
55th or 50-something place. He was so far down there and being able to jump. I mean, that's impressive.
He shot -5 round 1 with a double bogey. And then,
13 down round 2. Mm-hmm. And then 13 down round 4. And oh my God.
And Terry Miller interviewed him afterwards and was like, Drew, you won another Elite Series event in Portland. You had to do it in a playoff as well. What's making you not be able to get it done, and why, in regulation? And he just goes, well, when you're sitting in 50th something place after round 1, that's what you have to do to win.
That's what you have to do to win.
And he did. He shot 26 under over 2 rounds on the same course and closed it out. But let's talk about this, as we wrap this up. It would have been incredible to see Gannon win. But
yes, it would have.
I'll tell you right now, this is not going to be the last time that we see Gannon burn the top.
No. And Drew even said it in his interview. He's like, you're going to see this kid. He's the future of disc golf. Watch out.
Before he even was like full celebrate everything, jumps in interview, he literally looks at Gannon, he points at him, and he goes, that's the future of disc golf right there.
Yeah, he is.
And it gives me chills just thinking about it. And I was standing, right there. I was 10 feet away from that putt, was able to be, right there for the interview. And the level of respect that I think the world has already had for what Drew Gibson's been able to do, but in that moment, the humility of not saying, I win, but he came out and said, that's the future of disc golf. The passion of that kid, the drive, the absolute way he carries himself, it was incredible. And then you go to the social post as well. The first post he did was a picture of him and Gannon just having a full embrace of a hug and just saying, I cannot look forward to more battles with you, buddy. It literally
being humbled like that's going to take you places. That being able to just give to a person that is there and you're challenging with, you're battling, but at the end of the day, he can beat you next week.
And he will, and it's going to happen. So let's run down the leaderboard here as we wrap up the MPO. Hayden, you want to take us through the first couple spots?
So we had Drew win the playoff, Gannon in second, and then we had Calvin Heimberg in third place, and then tied for fourth was Luke Humphreys and Kevin Jones, which is awesome. I love seeing those two together.
The way they jumped the leaderboard, both shooting 13 down
that was crazy.
Up. I mean,
to be on the same card too.
Oh my gosh, it was incredible to be able to.
And you could tell they were just having fun as well.
Right, Tristan Tanner able to get 6th. Adam Hammis after that 9 through 9, just insanity. is absolutely ridiculous, that 9 through 9. Scott Withers also won. I believe he went 10 through 10 in round 3, which was, I mean, sorry, Adam, he beat you by 1 in the hot streak there. But Scott Withers being able to jump into the top 10, Ricky Wysocki able to stay in the top 10, kind of hot and cold for him. And then talk us through the last of the top 10 here.
Yeah, so, I mean, we go to
the Canadian here on tour shooting.
Well, you have Luke Sampson.
13. Yep, Luke Sampson
at minus 31. Thomas Gilbert tied for 10th, and then you got tied for 12th. You got a 4-way tie. You had Chris Dickerson, Nico LaCastro, Colton Montgomery, and Ezra Aderhold.
Yeah,
and that was at you minus 30.
Yeah, names you expect to be able to pop off in a tournament like this. And, I mean, what a finish to the MPO field.
That was crazy.
It gets you excited for the rest of the season, saying this is stop 1.
Yeah, it was like the playoff alone was incredible.
Yeah.
And going to another, I mean, we had, for FPO, we had another battle between two people.
Let's jump into the FPO. Who was our returning champion from last year, Hayden?
We had Paige Pierce as the returning champion.
Yep, no surprise there. Paige taken down, I believe.
Not at all.
Was it 9 events? She had 9 wins or something last year?
So,
maybe
yes.
a little bit more than that.
I believe you asked her in her interview.
I did. I was able to be a part of the press conference. I was able to be a part of that and ask questions.
There.
Yeah, which was amazing to be able to get some insider information and then be able to interview some of the players throughout the week as well. But yeah, our main story here, we'll talk a lot about her, is Katrina Allen. We talked about it in the sponsorship changes coming to DGA. She's changed a little bit about her game. Talk about that, Hayden.
She's got new sponsorship, changed the putt and reach back and distance. So she's got I don't think it's not as cut off like to be no more up to down. It is more curl of the wrist, and so it's a little bit different. She's changed it. I guess that has to do with the putters that she likes.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more glide behind them. Prodigy known for not having a lot of glide in a lot of their discs. And I'm not sure exactly what she's putting, but yeah, the putt was different. It was definitely more confident. That was a part of her game that was struggling. But her backhand as well, she's shortened the reach back, and she's gone to a little bit more of a whip. And the consistency in her backhand, I think she had that kind of like down to up motion. And man, she was smashing. Like you think of all these big names you hear coming out, like, I mean, Ella Hansons and Natalie Ryans, these players that are new or on the tour that are throwing so far. I mean, 2 of those players I just named there were at the United States or the Throw Pink Women's Championship on the distance competition.
Yep.
So
throwing far. I mean, I'm excited to see her, see what she can do as we continue in and what her changes will bring to her game.
Let's jump into the round 1 of the FPO at the Infinite Course.
Yep. Infinite Course, round 1, hot rounds. We had Katrina Allen and Paige Pierce, no surprise, at -8. And, I mean, that's impressive itself. It's putting some big numbers, and even Paige had a eagle on hole 3.
Yeah, and let's not forget, in round 1, we had the highest rated FPO card.
Yes, we did.
In history.
Who was on that list?
I believe, let me if I can find it here. Let's see. Is there a way to see that? I don't know if I can see the exact card here. I believe it was Kristen Tatar, Paige Pierce, Evelina Salin, and Katrina Allen. If I had, I believe
that's right. I believe you texted me that. Yes,
it may have been Hannah on that lead card as well. Apologize for not knowing that exact card, but it was the highest rated FPO card in history of the sport, which is just such a testament to what's going to be happening the rest of this year.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, what do you talk about the best players in the world,
right,
on all the same card and just getting after it and grinding.
Yeah. And it came out hot. I mean, like you said, Katrina and Paige really setting the tone at -8. Kristen, not too far back, -6. And a name that we just mentioned as well, Natalie Ryan, -6 as well. I mean, she was able to get the eagle on 3 alongside Paige and had a really hot round. And let's realize this. She shot in round 1, -6 with a triple bogey on
she did.
5. Still shot -6.
Yes.
Like, Natalie Ryan came out just with a serious way to start off the season.
She did, and then round 2 had some issues with the hamstring and shot +6, and then did not finish round 3 and round 4. And hopefully she recovers from that.
Right.
Is able to take a break this week, get off, and go strong into the next tournament.
And she's with a new sponsor as well. She's with a company called Neptune Discs.
Yes.
And so, exciting things coming from her, but hopefully she's able to recover well and be able to come back strong. But jumping into round 2, the new bag, it's working because
I think so.
Yeah.
We had 11 down from Katrina Allen.
11 under par, and you didn't.
This course is tough too.
This was bogey free. A lot of the par 4s play as par 5s on this course for the women. A name that you really have never probably heard of, a Canadian here on tour, Julie Mowens, shot -9 the second hottest round, just 1 bogey, so being able to jump 33 spots up to tie for 14th after struggling in round 1.
Also, third place, Kristen Tatar, -7 with 4 bogeys. Well, actually, 1 double bogey and 3 bogeys.
Yep, still shooting the -7. Haley King, another new bag, no stranger to the lead cards, and Evelina also shooting -7. So there was some hot rounds. I think the end of a course definitely playing quite difficult, but at the same time, not for Katrina Allen.
No,
she heads into round 3 with quite the lead here.
Yes, she does.
She had a serious lead, and she struggled a little bit in this round for the first time. She only shot -2. We go to the factory course.
I think it was just missed opportunities, didn't have a lot of bogeys.
The putt was just a little bit off.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The putt was just a little bit off. Factory course, maybe not to her best style.
And with the distance of this course, I think the putt being off a little bit was mainly because a lot of these holes are so long that getting to circle's edge is best
tough.
case.
Yeah, it's tough.
And then if you're not feeling it from that 25-ish range, and it's difficult. And Katrina being one of the longer throws in the course.
Oh, no doubt. And it was just a rough one for her, but I mean, for round 3, we had Paige Pierce at -8 for the hot round.
Yep.
And then following behind her was Kristen Tatar, and then Haley King, and then Evelina. Some definitely names that you've seen up here before. And then even in 6th and 7th place, you had Ella Hansen and Missy Gannon.
Yep, Missy Gannon won that. I was surprised. She's not known for her distance. She's a really good technical player. I mean, your Throw Pink women's champion and your Disc Golf Pro Tour champion. I mean, kind of a slow start here in Vegas for her, but that's okay. It's first term of the year. But let's jump into a highlight from round 3. Hole 6, Kristen Tatar throws her upshot. There's a par 4. She throws her upshot just a little bit off, and what happens, Hayden?
It goes in.
Yeah.
Through from like 200 feet, like 180, 200 feet. And on coverage, it looked like it just like went through the tree and that was it. But then you can tell it kind of hit a gap and it made it. But it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was
this is how we're going to do it?
I was walking with that card.
Yeah, what happened?
This is one of the funniest moments of the tournament for me. And not many people saw it, but thankfully, I was able to witness this. Guy named Phil Deloney was helping out with volunteering this week here at the Las Vegas Challenge. He had the quiet sign, volunteering. And if you've ever been to Vegas, and really if you've ever been to any ball golf course, there's a lot of animals. Maybe
animals.
There's a lot of those out there. Some geese, some ducks. I mean, just trying to do. Adam Hammis was feeding some ducks for a while on the backup. I mean, it was hilarious, but. These geese are on the fairway, just.
I mean, did you see the video of Nico?
Oh yeah, trying to push him out of the way.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Oh yeah. Well, Phil is holding the quiet sign, and literally going shh, shh, to the geese. And he's pretty far away from him. Well, they're losing their minds, and they literally look over at Phil, and they just slowly get quieter and quieter and quieter. And he's turned around. They listened to this bright red sign, close to the face. He was a good 20, 30 feet away. Yeah. And the second
was done.
Yeah, right. The second they get quiet, Kristen throws in. That
is hilarious.
So funny. It was well, you need to go give Phil a high five because he made those geese
no kidding.
Quiet. It was hilarious. It was so freaking funny. But yeah, the factory course had some highlights there, but overall, Paige Pierce made up 6 strokes over our leader going into round 3. And we're heading into round 4, and it's tied at the top.
It is, and we come into 3 different players shooting the hot round, and that is Katrina Allen, Ella Hansen, and Missy Ganning at 9 under.
And Paige Pierce just won off at -8, but it's the first time of the year.
It also came down to the wire on the last couple holes.
Right.
I mean, you want to take us through hole 18?
Yeah, I mean, we can jump even further back than that a little bit here. We were getting pretty tight, a lot of birdies out of Katrina. She was playing incredibly well. She then finds double bogey on 11, follows it up with double birdie. But then this happens. In 3 holes, Kat loses 3 strokes. Paige eagles the par 5 on 14. She then pars on 15 where Katrina bogeys, and then goes birdie. So we are tied at -29 heading into the final hole of the tournament, the first Pro Tour event of the year here in Vegas. If there is a time, we saw on the men's side, of course, but if there's a time to go into a hole, and if you could choose any hole to be tied going into
18,
I think one of your last decisions on the disc golf course world would be hole 18 at Innova.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. One of the most picturesque, gorgeous greens.
Drone footage looks fantastic, but playing it, I'd rather not.
No, I'd rather not do that.
And it's actually, it's kind of funny how they picked that as a playoff hole.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, but...
Well, not as a playoff hole. They were tied going into it. So
no,
I
know. I'm just saying, like...
the way that they were tied going into it.
If they were tied going into it, and they tie out of 18, 18 is another playoff hole if they get to it.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. If they were to go all the way around, which is which I mean, we almost saw it with the men's side.
We almost did it.
But what happens on that layup there for
Paige throws
for Paige?
OB left on hole 18,
and not far left.
No, definitely not far left. But I think she could have gone more conservative. But I think she was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. Bam, and it just went OB.
Out of bounds,
and Kat has the opportunity and takes it down.
And Kat plays aggressive here.
Yes, she does.
She could have laid up. There's a lot of room on the right with the way that her upshot was.
Which actually, I'd like seeing that. I'd like seeing that at the end there. Said, hey, I'm going to go for this and do it.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's the confidence. That's what it is.
And they both ran it and trying to get close for birdie. Paige actually was very close to hitting that putt to be able to save it.
Close.
And unfortunately does not. So Katrina Allen, after commanding rounds, a little bit off in round 3, and then was just right there at the end, she takes it down and is the champion of the first Disc Golf Pro Tour event of the year.
That sets the stage for her the rest of the year, I think.
And talking with her in the press conference, there was so much. It was like there was a renewed joy for the game. She said she felt like she was playing for the first time. Like there was a passion, there was an excitement to be back home with DGA, the first sponsor she ever had, and it was evident in her play, in her on and off the course. And to be able to come in here and win,
that's awesome.
Oh my goodness, it was absolutely ridiculous. So I mean, overall,
it was watching it on DGN was so much fun. But, I mean, what a tournament to start the year off.
Yeah, I mean, I was so thankful to be able to be there, able to do commentary all week alongside Nathan Queen. Some highlights, I mean, for me was being able to see these European players in person after we commentated on so much of that.
I'm sure that was fantastic.
Oh, it was great. Just to see them interact, to see the embrace of these relationships that have been formed as friends, and they hadn't seen each other in years because of the pandemic. So having all these European players back here on the tour, learning these courses, it's going to be one of the things we're going to talk about a lot this year. Hopefully, we're going to have some wins, some Elite Series wins, but we're going to be here to break it all down for you every single time there's an event in the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and also at Worlds and the Champions Cup and a couple other ones along the way. We're going to be right here in the mix.
Yes, we are. And it's going to be fun, and I am ready to kick it off and get this thing rolling.
And next we will be in Waco for the Waco Annual Charity Open, a course that's very, very different than here.
Yes, and I wonder if there's any changes.
Yeah, we're going to find out. Definitely, we're going to see you here right after that tournament. And be sure to follow all the coverage over on Gatekeeper Media for Chase Card all year long. Hayden, you got anything left before we head out?
No, I'm excited for the season. Can't wait, and we'll catch you here back on the next one next week.
Yep, and we will see you here. You've been listening to Gatekeepers in the Mix here with Park Podcast. My name is Mitch Phillips.
And I'm Hayden Ricard.
And we'll see you in Waco. Peace.